And joining us now to look ahead at the start of the series from London is senior cricket writer Telford Vice. Telford, good afternoon and welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for coming through. Big test at Lord's tomorrow. I mean, just generally looking at the two teams, what's your expectation in terms of performance? A lot of people are talking about the Bears ball, although the English are saying not to worry about, but definitely it's the buzzword.
It is the buzzword, and you could sense just in the press conferences of the past 2 days, yesterday Mark Boucher and today Dean Elgar, the South Africans are kind of going, it's England's game plan. Why don't you ask them about it rather than us? Because they are fielding a lot of questions about baseball. And today, I think Dean Elgar certainly said, you know, I want to get on with the game now. I don't want to talk about this anymore. It is the way of the English media to kind of bombard visiting teams with questions about England rather than about their own game. So we'll see. You know, England have done very well playing that way. They've chased down big scores in their last 4 test matches. Playing as if they were, you know, confusing a test match with a T20. So let's see if that happens again. South Africa have some very good bowlers, so it'll be a very good contest. And also, I think, a contest of personalities. You know, Brendan McCullum, Ben Stokes, and Dean Elgar and Mark Boucher are all combative, aggressive guys. So it should make for some very interesting, very watchable cricket.
Speaking of Stokes, I mean, announcing that this will possibly be his last game, what has been the mood been like, particularly from his teammates?
We haven't heard too much about that, actually. He retired from ODIs during the series against South Africa. And, you know, so you know, I think he's, I don't know, his future with England is probably as a T20 player, I suppose, but it's good to have this kind of thinking, his kind of thinking in Test cricket as well. You know, T20, I think, just the innovation it's brought to the 5-day format has been wonderful to see. And people keep poo-pooing T20s and saying that the IPL is taking over the game. But if it can turn Test cricket into a more exciting game, well, that's wonderful. And that's, I think this series will be a very good advertisement for exactly that.
Well, I can tell you that purists want to keep Test series as it is. Let's take a look at South Africa. I think one of the big news is the absence of Themba Bavuma. I mean, how much of a change will that be in that we'll have Keshav Maharaj captaining the side?
You will not have Keshav Maharaj captaining the side. You'll have Dean Elgar captaining the side.
Elgar, yeah.
Yeah, is of course. So, but what you will not have is just the absolute stability that Bavuma has brought. He, you know, he's South Africa's leading player in terms of batting average, and he's just the most solid part of their order, and he's not going to be here. That is a real problem. What do they do? And in fact, if you look at South Africa's squad, the only people who played Test matches in England before are Bavuma, Kagiso Rabada, and Keshav Maharaj. The rest of the squad have never played a Test match in England. Some of them have played a lot of first-class cricket in England, but those three are the only, and you know, conditions here are strange compared to the rest of the world. The ball swings a lot more, it moves off the seam more, there's the rain to contend with, all of those things. So it's going to be a very interesting examination of what South Africa brings. I think they have a lot of confidence at the moment. As you mentioned, they've yet to lose a series under Dean Elgar, and they've come back from like dire circumstances. In New Zealand in February, they were beaten all ends up in the first test and came back somehow to win the second. And in South Africa against India in March, we saw that they also lost the first test and came back to win the last 2 to win the series. So they're a very bullish, cocky, confident side. And, you know, I think that's going to be great for this series because we've seen England are made of similar stuff. They don't think they can be beaten. Nothing is impossible for them. And that should really give us something to watch. And yes, we'll see where it goes. But I think it's going to be riveting if the weather doesn't get in the way too much.
What has been the word on Kagiso Rabada? I know he's been rested, but any official word in terms of how far is he in terms of recovery? The South Africans have sounded more confident every time they've been asked that question. You know, so Boucher yesterday was like, yep, he's doing all the right things. And then Elgar today was, it was a case of he's looking very good. So I think he is, and, you know, and I saw him training the other day and he did bowl and he did bat and he did field, he did all the things and he did Rabada. And he just looked, just settled and relaxed. And he didn't look like a fellow who was wondering whether he's going to play. He looked like somebody who is going to play.
So I think if you have to lay a bet on him playing, I think it's probably a 60-40 or maybe even a better chance of him playing. I think he will. And, of course, that is also important with Duane Holyfield having gone home already with the hip flexor muscle problem. So it's going to be important that Rabada plays, and I'm kind of thinking he will.
But Telford, I would presume that smart money in this instance would be on the Three Lions. They're playing at home. They would obviously adjust better to the conditions that you've mentioned. What do you think will be South Africa's advantage, if any, going into this one tomorrow?
I think that they're not going to be scared. You know, they're not. You can come flying at them with your baseball and whatever else, and I don't think they're going to blink. I think that's going to be an important factor in this match. Is that Dean Elgar, I think, is the kind of cricketer who just loves a confrontation, and that's what England bring. They bring confrontation. Teams like India, I'm afraid, who England have beaten in the recent past, they're not very good at confrontation. I'd like to think they're good at confrontation, but as we saw in South Africa in March, they just implode and start shouting and screaming at the stump mics, you know, in just a silly response. So I don't think you're going to find that from the South Africans. They're not going to melt in hot situations. I know they have that reputation at World Cups, but this, of course, is a very different kind of game. And I think you'll see that. In that whatever England throw at them, I think they'll have some kind of response, and it's going to be aggression meets aggression.
We touched on Ben Stokes and the fact that he is deciding to walk away from the game, but I think one of the players definitely to watch from their side is Butler. I mean, we know that what he has done and leadership that he has shown on the field. Definitely one of those players from the English side to watch for.
Absolutely. They've got a lot of players to watch. I mean, I think my favorite cricketer in the world at the moment is Johnny Bairstow.
Yeah.
He just wades in there and plays. And, I mean, that's what the game needs. You know, he's somebody to watch. You can't go and make a cup of tea when Johnny Bairstow comes to the crease. It's not a good idea. So I'm certainly looking out to see how he goes about things. Yes, Jos Buttler is a fine player. It's the other thing here is that the individuals involved, I don't think you're going to see much in the way of needle. You know, there's no Virat Kohli running out there poisoning the atmosphere and things like that. There's some decent people involved here, and I think that it's going to set the tone for the series. I can't see much nastiness happening, but I can see a lot of very aggressive, very competitive cricket happening. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Johnny Bairstow gets on with things. I'm looking forward to seeing how somebody like if Marco Jansen plays, that'll be fantastic to see. And Kaya Zondo, seems really up for things. Now, we don't know who's going to play. Elgar hinted today that because there's not a lot of experience in the South African ranks, he would favour, going with mostly the experience that is there. And of course, someone like Kaya Zondo and Marco Jansen don't have that much experience. So you're going to be banking on the Lungi Ngidis, for instance, in the bowling department, and Makram. I suppose they did Makram as among the batters, and Rassie van der Dussen, those guys. But I think that's where it's going to go. That's probably going to be the South African approach. It is more conservative than the English approach. It'd be difficult for it to be less conservative than the English approach. But that's where we are. It's an intriguing thing. It's always like this at the start of a series. We have so many more questions than answers.
Absolutely. Are you brave enough to call it, Telford?
I think South Africa will win. I hope so. I just want to see the look on the English faces when finally baseball doesn't work. that will be an interesting thing. And I think the South Africans, they're resourceful. There's a lot of cricket to be played. The weather is going to get, as I look out, I'm standing in the Lord's press box at the moment, and it's grey and gloomy, and it has been raining on and off since last night. And more rain is predicted for tomorrow, so let's hope it doesn't get in the way too much. But I have a feeling, maybe it's a hope, that the South Africans will find a way to beat baseball. And, that'll make the world sit up and take notice.
Telford, thank you so much for coming through to speak to us. Appreciate it.